The crinkum crankum is getting more convoluted and the miasma is metastasizing. Let's talk about how the constitutional conundrum, which is confounding the president, which was created by General Mkhwanazi, is not ameliorating. In fact, the pressure is getting worse and worse and worse. There's been a significant development in the Mkhwanazi matter. The Minister of Police released a statement today that looks very much like damage control and is actually a direct contradiction of what he said in Parliament on the 5th of March. In addition, there are reports that the phone of one of the syndicate ringleaders, Vusimuzi Kat Matlala, was seized in prison. Maybe he was trying to SMS one of his Hosh Karmaimas. Let's start, though, with the statement from the minister, which came out in the morning, that the Minister of Police actually knows this character, Mr. Brown. This is what the statement says for immediate release. Statement in response to allegations regarding the minister's alleged association with Mr. Matlala and Mr. Mogotsi. In response to the recent allegations made by Provincial Commissioner Mkhwanazi, and while respecting the President's call for calm, the Minister of Police, Mr. Senzo Mchunu, feels it's important to clarify the following. The Minister has never met Mr. Matlala, has never spoken to him, nor has the Minister ever requested or received anything from him. The Minister did, however, initiate a review of the South African Police Service tender awarded to him when suspicions of possible wrongdoing surfaced. It was the same tender which has since been terminated. Furthermore, whilst the Minister knows and has met Mr. Brown Mogotsi, he is just a comrade. But you say he's just a friend. You say he's just a friend. Oh, Minister, you say he's just a friend. You got what he needs. But you say he's just... I'm sorry. Let me go back. Let me read it seriously. Furthermore, whilst the minister knows and has met Mr. Brown Mogotsi, he is just a comrade and not an associate of the minister. The minister has never requested or received anything from him. That's the end of the statement. There was a version on Twitter which actually put the details of the minister's spokesperson, who also has the Mogotsi surname, but that was edited out. I don't know, media, investigate, poorly, all of the people. Investigate, do your job, guys. So firstly, what's the difference actually between a comrade and an associate? You say he's just a friend. What is the difference? To me, that sounds like semantics at this point. More critically, this statement that has been made today by the Minister of Police does not seem to align with what the minister said in Parliament on the 5th of March, 2025. This is what he said not so long ago.
I think I picked up something that Provincial Commissioner Mkhwanazi is saying about some fellow. 2 weeks ago, it does happen. In a week or 2 or 3, I think a week and a half ago, I got somebody insisting that there's somebody who's going around saying he works with me wherever I am, he is there. And I said, show me the face. And it got to a point where he showed me the face and I told him, I don't know this person. And a week before, there was another person, Mkhunu, who said is my younger brother. My younger brother died in 2005, and I don't have any other. And so when the person says so, you really... So I think we must be very circumspect when people come to us and say, I must be an associate of this and that. I'm no associate to the person that General Mkhwanazi is referring to. But I appreciate whatever they discussed and then those things coming out so that I understand who is saying what, where, and so on. I do know that possibly all of us, including you, Che, you would have at one point or the other somebody claiming that they are your associate. it does happen. But other than that, thank you very much.
Yo, can you see this, Kaka? Can you see what Tupac was talking about in his song Mzansi Don't Cry? Can you see the movie? Can you see the series? Can you see that it's a drama? Can you see that? I mean, Tupac knew what he was talking about. I don't know if you guys know that Tupac song, but he clearly knew what he was talking about. You know, that clip I played you happened at the very last moment of the parliamentary committee meeting. It was a 4 hours and 50 minutes meeting. It was very long. 5th of March. You can find it on the parliamentary website, on the YouTube, rather. And it went on, and various things were discussed. And one of the things that was discussed there was why the political killings task team was disbanded. And that in and of itself, I think, deserves reflection and going back to. And I'll do that. Look out for that episode is coming. But after the 4 hours, at the very end, these were the last remarks of the minister. Going back to watch and look for this clip took me a long time because I had to watch the whole thing again just to find this small anyana clip at the end. He didn't have to say any of this. And if he hadn't said it, perhaps he wouldn't be in the hot water that he's in right now. But he had to say it. He wanted to respond to Mkhwanazi. He wanted that one point to be responded to. He didn't have to, but he did. And now there's a contradiction because of that 1 minute where he didn't have message discipline, where he didn't stay on script, he has created potential problems for himself as the minister and may end his own career if something else explosive comes out. Because Mkhwanazi has the files. Mkhwanazi has the receipts. That's why O'Sullivan's attacks and Mary's attacks are not landing, because what Mkhwanazi keeps saying or said keeps being corroborated. So let's keep in mind that it's a criminal offense to lie to Parliament. This is now potentially the second minister who has misled Parliament in responding to their questions. Section 17 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliaments and Provincial Legislatures Act makes it a criminal offense to deliberately provide false and misleading information to Parliament. The consequences of a breach of the Act can be a prison term of up to 12 months. So it's very conceivable that at some point in the coming days, some political parties will go and open a case against the minister on the basis of a violation of Section 17 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliaments and Provincial Legislatures Act. It's a long name. Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. You can actually use that as a tongue twister for high school kids if you're teaching them public speaking. Say, Section 17 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliaments and Provincial Legislatures Act. Section 17 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. Quicker you say it, the better you are as a speaker. Look, I'm repeating it so that you don't forget. Section 17. I'm using a joke, but I want you to remember this section. Section 17 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act makes it a criminal offense to deliberately provide false and misleading information to Parliament. Also, the minister may be found to be in violation of the Executive Members Ethics Act. This is the legislation that deals with ethics for the members of cabinet, deputy ministers, and provincial executive councils in South Africa. Ministers are required to meet various standards in the codes of ethics. The code says at Section 2 in the General Standards, 2.1, members of the executive must perform their duties and exercise their powers diligently and honestly. Says also they must act in good faith and in the best interests of good governance. And also they must act in all respects in a manner that is consistent with the integrity of their office or the government. Then it says at 2.3, members of the executive may not willfully mislead the legislature to which they are accountable, willfully mislead the president, and also act in a way that is inconsistent with their position. So these developments could be such that and you take that particular violation to the Office of the Public Protector. So these developments are such that the minister may find himself to be in contravention of these two acts. And these particular developments are strengthening what was said by General Mkhwanazi and the evidence that he presented to the public on Fiasco Sunday. I'm calling it Fiasco Sunday. I think we should call it something that was not an ordinary Sunday. left, right, and center. And that's how we enter. Fiasco. You remember that song, TKZ? Ooh, fiasco. I can't sing, but I do it sometimes to break the monotony. And because, we can't be serious 99% of the time. We must also find space to just add a little bit of humor every now and again. But critically and seriously, we must not forget the significance of what happened on Sunday. General Mkhwanazi changed the temperature of the room. He set fire to the room. And there's been a second major development that was reported on today. And that development is that Vusimuzi Kat Matlala, this character who loves the Hosh Karimamas, I'm always telling you that Hosh Karimamas factor in. Remember, this phone that has led to all of these explosive revelations was found because of a Hosh Karimaima and the allegations surrounding that Hosh Karimaima. There's nothing wrong with the yellow bones with yellow thighs. But if you have to tell yellow lies and get tender fries to get those thighs, then there are issues. That bar doesn't work, but I know you know what I'm trying to say. There's nothing wrong with that, having an attraction to beautiful women. But these people who are involved in criminal activity with cadres, these people who are using their connections with cadres, chasing these Hosh Karimaimas, these particular Hosh Karifathers, they're a problem. I say it as a joke, but it's not really a joke. Because if you look at what's happening, you can find that the Hoshkari behavior, the Hoshkari culture, that's why I say there needs to be an investigative department. Mkhwanazi needs to be given funds to look into Hoshkari behavior. Set up the HKB. Look at that as a department within the policing infrastructure. You will solve 99% of tender fraud. All of the money will now be going where it's supposed to go because a lot of that money is being looted and taken to these nightclubs, these Gonkas, Zanzos, and all of these places for the purposes of giving to these slay people. At this point, you should appreciate that this is something that's happening. Anyway, while he's awaiting, trial and all of these other things that are supposed to happen for his serious allegations, Vusimuzi Kat Matlala was found with a cell phone in prison. And that cell phone now is in the hands of the police. Here's what we were told today by the commissioner of the correctional services about this phone. Another phone, a different phone. Maybe he was trying to text his latest Hoshkari Sambauri. Or maybe he was conspiring to try to fix this mess that they've created. Who knows? But this is what was said.
Kat Matlala is at the CMAX correctional facility because of a reclassification. He is classified as high risk. On Sunday morning, we did a surprise search and we found a cell phone in his possession.
This was on Sunday, this past Sunday?
Yes. When we find objects like cell phones, and in cases that are high risk like this one, we hand the object over to the South African Police Service. So that is what we have done immediately on the same day.
Well, that phone has now been handed over to the police, and I genuinely wonder what the records of that phone will show. In fact, it may be very important for members of parliament to try to make sure that the records of that phone are preserved and that any WhatsApp messages sent are preserved, and they may have to go to the court to apply for interdicts for that phone actually to be preserved, because the allegations here are such that we have to be concerned who has the phone, because the allegations pertain to the police and senior levels within the police. For instance, if the phone is in the hands of Lieutenant General Sibiya, that's one thing. If it's in the hands of Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, that's another thing. That's another thing, right? So we have to really think about all of these dynamics. This development, in my view, is also confirmation of what the general said, that some people within the correctional services are working with the syndicates. It seems as if as the days unfold, as people are panicking, responding, reacting, we are beginning to see that a lot of what he said was true just based on the unfolding events. The persons who gave Kat Matlala a phone, the persons who gave Thabo Bester a laptop, These people are working with criminals, and these criminals seem to be implicated in syndicates which are participating in massive and high levels of organized crime. This is all indicative of the vast web of organized crimes that clearly seems to be operational in the prison system as well. The fact that he had a cell phone at the time when allegations were unfolding about what he's involved in, conversations that he was having with Brown Mogotsi, conversations that Brown Mogotsi was having with the Minister of Police, conversations that Brown Mogotsi was having with General Mkhwanazi, all of these things seem to be vindications of General Mkhwanazi and also implications that this rot is clearly deep and these are issues of concern which should be keeping the president awake. By the way, ilendile or what? Because at this point, there should have been action by the president. So Mokoena was indicating, no, when this guy comes back from Brazil, we're going to see immediate action. Figile Mbalula, no, let's leave the president to deal with these things. Well, it's Wednesday. I'm recording this at 12:15. I don't know what time you're going to be watching this, but I don't know if there'll have been any action by that point. What is happening? When a jet lag or what? What's going on, right? So I have a question though for you, for your consideration, and this is the question. Has investigative journalism failed in this particular case of the revelations revealed by Mkhwanazi? We've heard about this character, Brown Mogotsi, and I'm asking you now, if you think about investigative journalism, the Gupta leaks, Zweli Mkhize, what is digital vibes? Are you getting the same level of vibes in terms of the quality of investigative journalism? There's this one journalist, Wick, from News 24. He's covered a lot of the Ket Matlala side of the story, and I have to give him credit for that. But what about Brown Mogotsi? We've heard about this character, Mr. Brown, and we are nowhere closer to getting key information about this individual and his connections. He seems to have a foundation that was going to court, opposing tenders. Apparently that he's also gotten tenders. Apparently he's known in Northwest, but nobody can actually get anybody to speak about him. What's going on? Is he a dangerous person to the extent that all of the investigative journalists were like, whoop, not touching it? Or there's not been an instruction to touch him? What's going on? What's galang? Got this guy. Really? Usually the media will tell us the relatives, their relationships to those winning tenders. They'll tell us the connections between the friends, the associates. We just saw them do that with the National Lottery's contract. We saw them do that spiderweb thingy. The spiderweb. Hey, there's so many Spider-Mans who work at these investigative journalist outlets. They can draw all manner of spiderwebs. We saw them do that with Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu in the VBS scandal. Do you remember? Spiderweb thingies galore. We even knew that Julius Malema and Floyd Shivambu were buying from these shops in Sandton City. They were going to these events in Durban. They were swiping this card at this particular establishment. So far, I've seen nothing on this Mr. Brown. The only thing I've seen is a very strange interview on Newsroom Africa about a guy who says, I know Mr. Brown, my aunt evicted me, blah, blah. It was bizarre. I posted it on my Twitter, and I think Newsroom still has it on their YouTube. I don't know what to call that interview, but it's Newsroom, what's going on with you guys? Because you've been putting Mary, you've been putting O'Sullivan, and now you put that guy who says that he knows Brown, and then you're interviewing him at the end. The whole thing didn't make any sense. But my question really is, investigative journalist outlets, where are the spiderweb thingies? Usually we're hearing about wives, brothers, cousins of the criminally implicated. But in this instance, we don't know anything about Mr. Brown. It's Wednesday. What's going on? You're still looking into it. I'm confused, man. You even leak information and whistleblow. I remember what you did for Gupta Leaks. The time I got critical of you guys is when you started going slow on the CRS-17 funding. And then you went even slower on the Phala matter. You didn't want to touch that. Is this because this goes close to people who are not meant to be touched? I don't know. I'm just wondering. We've seen you do this great work, but why is there inconsistency? So there are reports now that emerged also today that Mkhunu and Cele will be sent to the ANC Integrity Commission. And this seems to be part of crisis management and part actually of manufacturing consent, because I don't think that these allegations that they are facing can be appropriately traversed internally in the ANC and that's it, end of the story. People must move on because people have lost lives. People have been affected by the drug consumptions, the gang activity, amapara, nyaupeism, nyaupe boys. It's a lot, and it's devastated societies, right? These syndicates that people are talking about here are not selling, cards at the corner somewhere. These are people who are selling drugs. These are people who are involved and implicated in guns, control of firearms. The weapons that were found at Sean Mkhize's mansion linked to this Vusimuzi Cat Matlala. He himself has a checkered history, a list of allegations that are longer than an arm. My arm, Scottie Pippen's arm, you name it. That person's arm, Yanis Antetokounmpo's arm. The list of charges against this guy, allegations, he's always punyugaring. Punyuga bempete, which is why I think he calls himself Cat. But then the question is, who's been helping this cat to punyuga all of this time? Punyuga for my international audience means to slip away, slip out, jump out. You're holding the cat and then the cat punyugas, right? Who's been helping him? So I don't know if the ANC Integrity Commission thing is going to work out right now. And I want to close off by, saying something that has been on my mind as I've been thinking about this and the way it's been folding out. There's a scripture in Proverbs. And the Bible the Bible ain't never lied. The scripture in Proverbs, it came to mind and I've been thinking about it. Proverbs 1:10-19. I'm not preaching to you. I just want you to hear the scripture and think if it applies here. My son, if sinful men entice you, do not give in to them. If they say, come along with us, let us lie in wait for innocent blood. Let us ambush some harmless soul. Let us swallow them alive, like the grave, and whole, like those who go down to the pit. We will get all sorts of valuable things, all sorts of hosh karimaimas, and fill our houses with plunder. Cast lots with us, and we will all share the loot. My son, do not go along with them. Do not set foot on their paths, for their feet rush into evil. They are swift to shed blood. How useless to spread a net where every bird can see it. These men lie in wait for their own blood. They ambush only themselves. Such are the paths of all who go after ill-gotten gain. It takes away the life of those who get it. I don't know if it's any manner of life to be living like Thabo Bester, like this Vusi Cat Matlala, and to be ultimately implicated in all of these things that people are being implicated in, whether it's Diddy, Epstein, or this. I don't know if you're seeing it, but I just thought I should just bring it to your attention. Let's have a conversation in the comments, though. I'll meet you there. Till the next one.